Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pachehra Talks. My name is Arun, and I'm Solutions Architect MCT, working with Novin Tech, which is one of the best organization to work with. And today, we are going to start network security in Azure. This is in continuation with AZ500 or Security Specialist in Azure. We only completed the one identity module in it, and it got stuck because I was changing my organization. There were some other uh, roadblocks, but now I think we have little time. So, along with AI series, which is running in parallel, we are also trying to complete the security specialist, starting with network security. As you know, we are not getting the access somehow to work on Azure OpenAI services to do actual labs, but still we will try to perform or learn, keep on learning on things. All right. So let's start with the network security. Since it's the very first topic in the network security, so we'll start with the absolutely first resource that will help us to secure our network in Azure, and that is Network Security Group. This is a group of security rules to control your network traffic, to filter your network traffic. So, what is NSG? NSG is a group of security rules for the network traffic. Now, in order to understand this NSG, let's grab the concept with the foundation of virtual network. Let's suppose this is our virtual network in Azure, and these are our subnets. Okay, for the understanding, for the clarity, it will help us to grab the concept. And in this subnet, let's suppose this is the VM which is running, and VM has NIC, which is network interface, NIC. Okay, so just to be in line, let's tag them as virtual network. Let's tag it as subnet and tag this as VM and tag this as NIC. Now, let's suppose this is our NIC, this is our NSG in this format. So the traffic is coming in and coming out, and we are applying the rules here, security rules. All right. So we can apply this NSG on subnet right here, so that all the resource inside that subnet, like all the virtual machines, will associate or will inherit all the rules on the subnet by default. Okay, and you can also apply this NSG on NIC, on the level of NIC here. All right, so and you can apply both as well. It's not like you cannot apply, but if you ask what is the best practice, it is always apply the NSG on the subnet, right? And that is the best practice, and always use less NSG or less rules in the NSG. It doesn't mean like you need to leave the traffic open. It simply means you have to use wisely as per the recommendations by Azure. For example, the augmented security rules. Okay, so for now I think it is clear what is NSG and where we can apply. Let's quickly go ahead and create one and see. Okay, so let's go to, you're gonna type in the search bar as NSG and you will find network security groups. This is the very first resource in network security. Click on create. Just like any other resource that we create in the resource group, it will simply ask us to choose the resource group or create one. Give it a name. We are calling it my NSG001, and create it in the region where you have your workloads running, where you have your virtual network, so that you can associate this NSG to the relevant subnet. Nothing else. You can apply a tags review and create. It will validate, and once you hit the create, it will then create the NSG for you. So once we hit the create, we gotta wait for a few seconds, and we will have NSG, and then we'll quickly go around the security rules, which is the uh, soul of the NSG. Let's put it this way. All right. Okay. So it is in progress, or what we can do, we can open any other NSG, but let it be, we got it. So if you see in the NSG, these are the rules. This is actually the NSG, the rules, the security rules. So under settings, if you go click on networks inbound security rules, you can see a couple of things like priority, name, port, protocol, source, destination, and action. Right, and this is what the if you remember, we have covered a lot of things, even the NSG, but for the sake of this 500, and a lot of things may have changed. So that's the reason I'm covering it. If you remember the, what we call it, load balancer, how it balances the 5 tuple hash. So these are the things you can see on the NSG as well. Source port, destination port, and protocol. Source, destination, port, and protocol. These 5 tuple. And then we have the priority, which will decide which rule would be applicable, and the action, allow and deny, nothing else. Now, under priority, it's simply like, let me go ahead and try to create one for you guys. So source, you can have a lot of things like anyone can come in the inbound, or this rule will be applicable. You can have the IP address here, IP address in the form of side range, IP address in the form of like comma. You can have, for example, 1.2.3.4, then comma, then 1.2.3.5, right? You can have like this as well. And we call these kind of security rules as augmented security rules, the ability to specify multiple multiple IP addresses and ranges. uh, so it's augmented security rules. And we can have security tag, but you cannot have multiple security tag for now. Maybe it will come in future, but we can have service tag. Service tag is like the tag of all it's a group of all the public IP address that Azure services has, like Azure storage account or Azure SQL, any past services that Azure has. ASG will cover in the next video. It's application security group. It's nothing more than a tag, I would say, where you can tag all particular NSGs or resources and apply. We'll show you in the next video. So source could be ASG. ASG is security group, application security group. Okay. So then we have source IP address, because we chose so IP address in the source. We can have port ranges here, from which port, and destination, and the service. They have multiple services. You can see RDP, SSH, HTTP, and the destination. We got ports again, and these are the protocols, and actions are allow and deny and priority. You could simply see rules are processed in priority order. The lower the number, the higher the priority. Right, so if you have deny rule on 100 for some particular IP address, and allow on 101 rule, 101 rule, then of course 100 wins and it will not be allowed. But if it's vice versa, it will allow then, right? So lower the number, higher the priority. Got to give some name to the rule. It is always nice to use the name which has a meaning associated with name, which is describing your security rule. So here we have the priority. These are the default rules. This is also something interesting. I've seen people asking these questions in the interview as well. What are the default rules in the NSG? Well, there are 3 default rules in the NSG, where virtual network, all the machines inside the virtual network can talk to each other, and traffic coming from Azure load balancer will reach the VMs running in the virtual network and then deny everything. And you can have your security rules priority from 100 to 4096. You cannot have priority as 1. I'll show you. See, if I remove 0, it will give the answer. No, you must between 100 to 4096, which simply means these rules would always be applicable when you do not have any customized rule, because the last one is 4096 in priority. All right, and outbound security rules would have the same. So it simply means you do not to create separate rules for the inbound and separate rules for the outbound, because this NSG is a stateful resource that will help you to secure your traffic. All right, then we have something very really interesting, which is effective security rules. This will help you to understand which rule is which NSG is associated with which virtual machine and network interface. Will all the information it will give you. This is the only the NSG which is not which is not associated with any NIC or subnet. That's why. Let me show you some other. If I have any other NSG right here, okay. Now, as you can see, for security rules, select a network. We network security group failed to retrieve security rule because the virtual machine is not running. Okay, my VM is not running. Anyways, we can try to turn it on. Let's turn on both the VMs. If I have enough money, maybe I have. Okay, fine. All right, until while it is running, we can talk about some other stuff, some other good things. For example, if you have an NSG connected right now and there is a connection made because of the security rule which says allow, right? And if you modify that rule, does that mean the existing connection will lock, stop, or terminate? No. It simply means the next connections will not be allowed. All the modification or changes happened in the NSG security rules will not impact the existing connection, but it will impact all the new connections. And we have already talked about, like, you can associate 0 or 1 NSG to each virtual network subnet and network interface in a virtual machine. It's not like it's something very mandatory. You can have without NSG, which is not recommended at all. But for the sake of knowledge, I'm saying you can have a NIC associated with the virtual machine without NSG. You can have subnet without NSG, and you can check all the security rules in the effective security rules. uh, Network settings. Ding, ding, ding. And we have, come on, network security group. If it shows, it's fine. Otherwise you can check in your lab. That would be nice. Okay, until it comes here, there is one more thing I wanted to show you regarding the network security group, which is network watcher. Okay, here it comes. So it will show you right here. Select a network interface below to see effective security rules and network security associated with it. All right. So this is the and this is the network interface with which this particular NSG is associated with. So all these rules are applicable on this network interface. Now, if we need to see or troubleshoot if something is not happening properly, where the connection is blocking, you can simply go to network watcher. You can type here network watcher because it's in recent services. So I could click here. Under network watcher, you have IP flow verify. Here you can select the virtual machine. I think this was for one, and this was for us, the one we were working upon, and this is the network interface. By default, it will pick it up. Now, if you want to see the connection from the remote IP address, let's suppose this is the IP address. This is my local IP address from which I'm working right now. Let's suppose you want to see whether the RDP allowed on this virtual machine or not. Uh, so we can click here and verify. I'll show you the rules as well if you have not glanced at while I was going through. All right. So it will take few seconds, and it says I think access denied. It says access denied. Let's try to hit 9. I think this is the one where we have hit the we have opened the port for this public IP. So ultimately, what we are doing here, we are trying to see how network watcher IP flow will help us to verify or troubleshoot network related issue or connection issue if NSG is blocking. It explained clearly, like access allowed through the RDP security rule on this NSG. If you click on this NSG, you can simply see under inbound security rules RDP allowed for this public IP address. Let's delete it. I don't want this to be, because this is not my public IP anymore. It keeps on changing. All right, so this is all about NSG, and I hope it was helpful. uh, I don't think anything else is missing for this one. So thank you for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day. Bye bye.